Whenever I read something about Porcupine Tree, your band is described as being, or is very often described as being, a progressive rock band. But as far as I know, you're not really too happy with this description.
Well, we try very hard to be unique, and we try to be as ungeneric as we can, and by that I mean that we're not interested in playing a particular genre, being a generic band. We don't want to play death metal, we don't want to play progressive rock, we don't want to play space rock, we want to play Porcupine Tree music. And Porcupine Tree music is kind of a mixture of all of the personalities, all of the things we listen to, and we listen to a lot more music than I think some people, and absorb a lot more different kinds of music into our sound than I think some people give us credit for. It is a mixture. I think very often people tend to dismiss anything that is a kind of mixture, particularly if it's kind of slightly arty or slightly more intellectual, as progressive. Because progressive in itself comes from, I mean, the kind of whole genre of progressive rock came from the early 70s, and it was all about bands fusing different kinds of music. So you had bands like Jethro Tull fusing jazz with rock, and you had bands like Pink Floyd fusing the blues with rock, and it was all about fusing new kinds of music with rock and creating albums as opposed to singles. And that's certainly something you can apply to us. You know, we're kind of fusing everything from ambient music to death metal music into what we hope is a unique kind of sound. So it's kind of a little bit lazy for people to dismiss that as it's progressive rock. We have a lot of progressive rock fans, but we also have a lot of metal kids come to our shows who probably have no interest in progressive rock. And we have a lot of people who just like good songwriting, good pop songs, you know, who respond to that side of what we do. So it's not as if, don't get me wrong, I don't loathe the term, and I can kind of understand why it's necessary sometimes, certainly for the media, to categorise music. Otherwise, how do you describe something to someone who hasn't heard it? And it's very hard to describe something that is, in effect, indescribable. I mean, the only way to really understand what we do is to hear it. So in that sense, progressive is as good a label as any other, I guess.